You're back.
Good morning, Tampa Bay Comic-Con. How are you guys doing? All right. So David's running just a few minutes late, but he's on his way here. So we're going to start the panel in just a few minutes. Just wanted to give everybody a little bit of a heads up on how we're going to do things. I'm going to be asking David some questions for a little bit, do a little Q&A, and then we're going to pitch it out to you guys in the audience. We have 2 mics here, so if you guys want to ask questions, come on up and get in line behind the mics. When we get to that, that's part of the panel. We'll do that. Please keep everything,
PG.
Keep it nice, right? No personal questions or anything controversial. We'll stick to it. We got some Arrow fans in here. Diggle fans, right? Cool. Good deal. Yeah, me too. Right. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a good time today, and you should be here in just a few minutes.
All right. Peace.
It's okay. No, the waitress is trying to sit, and she like starts cracking up and they walk away. And he's like, "Did you eat everything already?"
Okay, the waitress saw me with the sandwich. I think.
Yeah, you had like one bite here, sit.
He's looking at prep like he does in my I could see her, like, it's funny. I did see her walk around cracking up and she laughed, and then she came. She told us that, like, I kind of knew that happened. I'm a funny
He's coming.
All right. Good morning, Tampa Bay Comic-Con. We ready to get going here? I want to hear if we have some Arrow fans here in the audience. We got a few, right? Yeah. 1 or 2. Excellent. All right. Let's get this thing going. We're running a few minutes late, so let's get started. Let's not waste any more time. Why don't we give a big Tampa welcome to David Ramsey.
Well, I was told by the interpreter to make sure I speak into the mic, so.
Yeah, they got on to me about that too, so.
Hey guys, how's it going?
morning.
It was torrential downpour like the last few days of rain. So.
Welcome to Florida, right? That's how it works. You never know.
The heat and the
The only thing you can count on is the weather's going to change from minute to minute. Well, David, welcome. We appreciate you having you here. I know we got a lot of fans of Arrow and John Diggle, and obviously we're going to be talking quite a bit about that.
Yeah.
I'd like to get started there talking about some of your other roles, because I know we're going to be, on Diggle quite a bit. Tell me, how did you get started in acting? Have you always wanted to be an actor?
That's a good question. I don't get that a lot. I was raised in Detroit, right? And it was, a very blue-collar city, as everyone knows. So to kind of tell my parents I wanted to be an actor, that my father, 1929 Alabama is where he was born, right? So it's like, but they're very, very supportive, surprisingly enough, or to some people they're surprising. So I was always encouraged to just kind of follow my dreams. And, a lot of kids and adults really ask me sometimes, how can I get started, from where I am, this small town, or wherever I am in, whatever part of America they're in. And it's always the same answer, you start where you are, right? And that's what I did in Detroit. I started, doing theater and any other thing I could behind the camera, in front of the camera, just kind of trying to learn and just hone the craft. And just got better and better at it, and made my way out to LA in the 90s.
Yeah. So I understand you have a pretty extensive martial arts background as well. That's something that you trained in. I knew that. I mean, it's obvious with the fight choreography. I know you probably have a lot to do with that in Arrow. It's spectacular choreography. It's really some of the best fight scenes out there on television.
Yeah, it's pretty good on television. It's pretty good.
In doing some of the research for this, I knew you had a martial arts background. I didn't realize this until I was looking it up, but you actually trained with Benny the Jet Urquidez at one point, who I don't know, a lot of people may not remember him, but he's a legendary kickboxer, one of the greatest martial artists of all time.
100%.
What was that like? Training with that.
It was interesting because before that I was training with a man by the name of Guru Danny Santo, who was a legend of JKD. And so when I started training with Benny, with Sifu Benny, Sensei Benny, that was really for a kind of movie of the week where I was playing Ali.
Right.
And he kind of took my martial arts to a kind of a different level. Even as wonderful as Guru was, there were a lot of drills. Guru's kind of idea was drill, which was fantastic. But Sensei Benny was very martial oriented. Right. Was very, let's get in the ring and try to hurt people, right? And so it kind of went up a level in terms of the martial art quotient, and it became a lot more. Even though we worked with sarongs and weapons in Guru, it went to another level hand to hand with Sensei Benny.
I didn't realize you trained with Dan Ensenado too.
That was fantastic.
Legends you've been able to train with.
I was very fortunate out in LA. Honestly, I got a job. It was kind of a Quentin Tarantino story. I got a job at a video store in LA, and the guy who was the assistant manager of the video store introduced me to JKD. He was training with Danny Santo, and I was like, really? Because I was a boxing with my father back in Detroit. Because that's all you do in Detroit is box, right? And at least that's not all, but in terms of martial arts. And he introduced me to JKD, and it was like my world just opened up.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it shows too now in the choreography. How involved are you in the fight choreography?
At the time, James Bamford, who moved on to become a producer director on Arrow, was our fight choreographer, and he knew about my background, so he gave me kind of a blueprint. Like, we kind of want this to look like, or we want the fight to end up here, and I was able to improvise. Yeah. And they had such great fighters on the show that we could change a right hook to a straight cross or whatever. I mean, I just changed it on the fly, and they just caught.
Really? So you were able to get away with that and not accidentally hit each other for real?
No, but they were fantastic, and we were all very, very comfortable. And for the most part, the martial arts stuff I did, but the stunts I didn't. So you see people going through glass or dropping from roofs. I did none of that. But the fights.
So you didn't want to go as far as the whole Jackie Chan route and do it?
No. The Tom Cruise, Jackie Chan is like, kudos to them. I'm not throwing myself through glass.
That's cool. So you brought up the Ali movie. I never had a chance to see that, and I didn't realize you had done that role. Yeah. But that's what a great
that kind of
someone like Ali.
It's funny too, because there was back I think it was the beginning of around 2001. There were 3 Muhammad Ali kind of pictures. Obviously, mine, Terrence Howard did one for ABC. I did one for Fox, and then obviously Will's.
Right.
Michael Mann's, right? So that everyone kind of lived in the shadow of Wills and Michael Mann's, obviously. But I was shooting a movie down in South Africa, and they were shooting Ali in I think it's Zimbabwe. So it was just interesting, kind of. It was funny too because funny story. I went to some party. I don't know what host party it was. It's the first time I met Will. Second time I met Will, and he said, "So who are you training with?" And I said, "Well, I'm training with the great Beanie the Jet." Right. I said, "Who are you training with?" He was like, "Oh, Angelo Dundee."
Oh, shit. Oh, that's, yeah. Do you all know Angelo Dundee? That's Ali's trainer, right?
Oh,
okay.
right.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Right.
Amazing. Awesome. That's cool. So I guess you were there filming the Rumble in the Jungle scenes or something?
That's right. That's right. That's
exactly.
right. In Africa. That's exactly right. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's, what about Dexter? Now, that's another role you had.
Dexter's funny too. It's a good story.
Anakin and Dexter.
There was Michael C. Hall. I mean, just my goodness. Oh, you guys know Dexter's coming back, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I didn't die, so there's hope. It's all what you say with Dexter, right? You didn't meet the plastic, so you never know. There's hope for you. But it's funny because at the time he and Jennifer were dating before they got married, and first day on the set I had a love scene with Jennifer, and I just met Michael, and he was in Video Village. Video Village is where you sit there with the director and the DP, the director of photography, and you're watching the scene on monitors, right? So the bed is over there, or the set, where me and Jennifer are, and Michael's here, watching the scene. So we do the scene, and it's a romantic scene, we're in the bed, and then they yell, cut. And I look over at Video Village, and then Michael kind of peeks his head out and goes, I'm like, I probably won't die on the show. But that's the thing. Every time, we had a script reading before every beginning of every episode, and that's what you do on Dexter. You go to the end of the script to see if you're dead. Right? Who's in the plastic? Well, it's not me.
That's great. Let me ask you, what are some of your other, I know you had a lot of TV roles, kind of during that period. What were some of your other favorites?
There was a great film, it's a little small film, but believe it, it was Naomi Watts and Sam Jackson and myself and a few others. It's called Mother and Child. And it's a small independent movie a few years ago. That was probably one of my favorite kind of movies that I did. Naomi Watts and Sam Jackson were in a romantic relationship, if you can imagine.
Interesting.
What was your role? I was married to Kerry Washington. We were both trying to have a child, and we were unsuccessful at that. The struggle between just the mental and the emotional struggle, trying to have a child.
That's great. What an opportunity to work with Sam Jackson and Naomi Watts too, right?
Oh, it was great. It was. I mean, it was great. I mean, I say that kind of facetiously, just kind of in relationship, just because maybe your mind doesn't immediately go to that. But it was a beautiful movie, beautifully crafted, and I'm very proud of that because it was a few years back.
Very cool. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about your role as John Diggle on Arrow, because I know a lot of folks are interested in that. So, this is obviously was kind of a breakthrough role for you, right? I'm wondering how much were you a fan of the comic book characters and superhero characters at all? How much did you know going into this, about the sort of DC universe, that kind of thing, and these characters?
Yeah, I was always a comic book nerd, cool. And so getting this role was kind of just a dream come true.
I think you're simpatico with a lot of us. That's cool.
Yeah, that's right. So I grew up reading comics. I love both Marvel and DC. I was more of an X-Men fan, like a lot of people in my generation. Right. But I loved the big guys, Batman, Superman, and DC, right? But as far as DC was concerned, that was kind of my limit, kind of Batman and Robin, and DC. I grew up on the Super Friends, so it was like. Right. But when I got the role, it was great because Greg Berlanti saw me in Blue Bloods, playing the mayor with Tom Selleck, right? So he was, and Blue Bloods wasn't ready to pull the trigger to make me a regular, so he called me in and said, I have this role, and I think you're perfect for it, but you're not doing much in the pilot, but you come to right-hand guy. He's an original character. And we have some big plans for him later on. He didn't tell me like the Green Lantern world.
Gotcha. Right.
And so I said, great. I read the script, and there wasn't a whole lot in the pilot, but I trusted him, and it turned out great. And what was great about about this was the people that really kind of pushed this character becoming more involved in the story, even though it was intended to be. But it really was the public. DC kind of responded to the public's kind of response to John Diggle.
Right.
He became a character in the
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. How does that feel to have? I mean, that's only happened a few times. Harley Quinn, a couple of other characters that started in a different medium, and then they decided to go ahead and make them an actual character canonically in the comics.
That's right.
So as a comic book fan, how does that feel, right?
It was fantastic. I mean, the idea that, they're kind of putting this mythos with, not only becomes a DC character, but, kind of combining it with Jon Stewart and all this other stuff, it's really a testament to what the people want to see.
Yeah, gotcha. So, the character coming in, I mean, it really, especially, watching those first few seasons, my family, my kids were into it, we watched it religiously, and you really, that core dynamic with Diggle and Oliver and Felicity, right? I mean, the chemistry that the three of you had, it's not to say that, the other actors, the other characters were great, but the three of you, too, really did make that show.
Yeah.
And those first couple of seasons really got it going and made it solid, I think.
It was lightning in a bottle between the three of us. No one saw that. And going back to what Greg always says, we just go where the writing goes, where the chemistry goes, right? And the chemistry just fell in line, and it gave birth to this big whole universe.
Yeah, I mean, without that, you would not have this whole era of all these.
Well, yeah.
shows,
I mean,
really.
and I think even Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. even came after that. I mean,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and we have to kind of remember Smallville back there, but I think Smallville kind of, we lived in the shadow, really, of
Right.
Smallville.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, in Vancouver, the crew was all Smallville.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And there was a certain small, kind of putting your toe in the water from DC and Warner Brothers with this, because, Green Arrow, for all intents and purposes, is a B character.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
So, it wasn't, he's a poor man's Batman, or Bruce Wayne, so no one saw this coming. No one could have foreseen this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's great that it worked and
Yeah.
blew up the way it did. All right, so you've already sort of hinted at one of the things that I think we're all interested in,
Yeah.
and that is the connection with Diggle and potentially Jon Stewart and Green Lantern, right? So, this has obviously been teased quite a bit, teased to the point where I think it's fair to say that seems to be where it's going, maybe.
Yeah.
At this point, there's been enough, the stepfather, his name is Stewart, and all of that. What I didn't realize, and you're kind of hinting at it here, is that they maybe had this in mind all along.
Yeah, there was some.
Or was it just more the Spartan character making him more of a superhero, but then they decided to go all the way to Green
Yeah,
Lantern?
there was some talk about this with some of the creatives. But, as I've come to realize now, being 10 years, better part of a decade being in this universe, there are a lot of things kind of talked about and thrown against the wall, and you just kind of wait and see as the seasons progress, the reactions, what the network's saying, what the studio's saying, how it sells overseas.
Gotcha.
And then it kind of answers as to which part of these things fall off the wall.
Right, because it started to become a fan theory, right?
Yeah.
People were putting it out there, hey, he's got the military background like Jon Stewart,
That's right.
right? So, that's kind of what I was wondering, how did that develop? It sounds like it was a little bit of both, right?
It was a little bit of both.
And...
It was a little bit of both. There was some of that in the beginning that I wasn't aware of until around season two, right, of season one. And there was actually a meeting between me and Andrew Kreisberg and Greg Berlanti, and they talked about the idea that this guy may become Green Lantern. But at that time, the Felicity, Oliver, and Diggle story kind of jumped off of the screen, right? Because Felicity wasn't intended originally to be part of it, and at least not as deeply as she became. So that dynamic, and though I was supposed to be important, no one saw that happening.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the trio kind of jumped off of
Gotcha.
the screen. So it became about that. So the idea of this guy kind of going off into his own world, or Felicity kind of being a supporting character, just fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
And then as things begin to kind of morph into something else, we start to revisit the whole idea of him being Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they were thinking about it to start with. For those of you that don't know, in the early 70s there was, a Green Lantern, Green Arrow comic book, right? And it was cutting edge at the time in the early 70s. The writing was, it was by Denny O'Neil.
Traveling Heroes.
Right, exactly. Well, it's one of the first comics to really delve into social issues, contemporary social issues and things like that, using Green Arrow and Green Lantern as sort of opposite political spectrums, playing off of each other, right, and dealing with some of the issues.
Hal Jordan.
Right, and it was brilliant. So it makes sense that they were at least thinking about, bringing Green Lantern into it, at that point. That's interesting. Of course, that was Hal Jordan, the comic book. John Stewart, the John Stewart version of Green Lantern has always been kind of more of a secondary character, really, until the Bruce Timm Justice League series. So I don't know, did you ever watch that? I mean, my kids really watched that growing up. The animated one. Yeah.
Well, there's a whole generation that really knows John Stewart more than Hal Jordan.
Right. That's my kids. They don't know Hal Jordan. They know John Stewart is Green Lantern. And Bruce Timm just really took that character and made him, fleshed him out so well in that animated series. So yeah, I have to say, I'm really looking forward to seeing a live version.
Well, here's the, you haven't asked me yet, but here's what's happening with Stewart. Okay, there's clearly a lot of politics happening with that. The quick answer would be there was kind of this, I don't know, I'm trying to remember what that was for, but me and Mark Guggenheim and I think it was Beth Schwartz at the time there was a premiere meeting or something and there were cameras on. I just remember us having a conversation similar to this. And what Mark said at the time was the idea of John Stewart is still there. We aren't quite sure where we're going to go with it. To say any more than that would kind of violate what our agreement was with Warner Brothers. Now, since then, what's happened? Diggle has returned to the universe after the events of Crisis, where he found a glowing green box. And since then, he's returned to the universe, and the presumption is, and actually it's more than presumption, the story is, that whatever was in the box he denied the invitation of, and there are consequences to that. And he's been experiencing headaches and all this other kind of equilibrium off, and he went from episode to episode, or show to show, those shows being Batwoman, Flash, and Supergirl, and Superman and Lois, experiencing these physical effects of denying whatever was in the box. Ultimately, that story becomes the most fleshed out on Flash, where we actually hear what the box is saying to him, and it's saying something to the effect of worlds await, and it's driving him crazy. And there's some response from a specific empath on Flash who goes into depth as to how large the entity is. Okay, at the end of Supergirl, which you have not seen yet, he alludes to accepting what that said, and what is said to him. At least it feels that way. Now, what happens after that? You're going to find out next year. Okay, good deal. Good deal. You're going to find out next year. And it probably, I'm finding out as we speak how that's forming. Okay. I know you probably can't. Well, too much. Well, I can't because some of it I don't know. Gotcha. Like some of it I don't know. I know that some shows are gone. Like Supergirl's not coming back. Black Lightning's gone. I don't know if it's Legends. I don't know if it's Stargirl. I don't know if it's Titans. I don't know if it's the new Green Lantern on Max. But somewhere amongst this universe, whether it's HBO Max or CW, that story is going to be fleshed out and expanded. And I don't quite know how that's going to work yet. And I would drop some hints because I'm notorious for kind of run the cat out of the bag a little bit. Oh, a little bit. I do get calls about it. But I'm not entirely sure how that works out. But Supergirl, the end of Supergirl will lead to something else next season. Okay. Yeah. Very good. Well, listen. Why don't we pitch it out to the audience? I know we probably have lots of questions. I think we got one. So anybody else wants to ask questions, come on down and get in line behind the mic. Go ahead.
So,
Hey.
yeah. So I was to work with Eddie Murphy in the movie.
Nutty Professor?
Yeah, the Nutty Professor.
Yeah, that was like my first, I was fresh off the boat, and if you look at me, you would see all the green in my face. I was fresh and new to Los Angeles, to the business. It was great. It was everything you would expect. Like every other sentence was funny. He's just one of those guys, man. Like it's just funny falls off of him. Yeah. And I, you know, it was, you know, it's funny because around that time there were little bitty roles I got in LA, and you know, each one I thought was going to be my break, right? And that was one of them where I thought it would be a lot bigger than it was, and it just ended up being kind of that. But it was great, just kind of being in that company. I think Jada was in that as well, and it was fantastic. But Eddie was everything you would think he was, man. Just funny every time you're around.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so
Hey.
big fan.
Thanks, bro.
Just get out of the Air Force, about to go to Savannah College of Art and Design.
Thank you.
Starting next month for acting. Do you have any advice for a up-and-coming actor?
Where are you going?
SCAD in Savannah?
Savannah, yeah. There are a lot of things there for you. I would say to every actor, every artist, and I guess this applies to a lot of people, but for every artist, there's something where you are. I'm a big believer in that, because a lot of times artists want to kind of leave this kind of place they are and go to the big cities because of whatever. And I get that. I get the reason why. But there's something in Savannah. Hone your skills, become a much better artist, exhaust every resource you can there. I was accepted to USC coming out of a high school in Detroit. And I got a scholarship to University of Southern California. And my mother, at 17, my mother begged me, please don't go to Los Angeles yet. Just spend some time at this local college called Wayne State University, which had a very good theater program. And she said, just stay there for a while. Now her reasons were very selfish. She didn't want to let go of her big boy, but she was right in that by the time I was done with my 4 years at Wayne State, I had become such a good actor, and I really was a very good actor in college. And still am, I think. But my point is, I really honed the skill of acting there, but my point is that between kind of working on the craft and meeting enough people, the dean of the department knew that I was supposed to come out to Los Angeles. He so happened to know the head of daytime casting at NBC in Los Angeles. Just so happened to know her, right? And said, you know something? You should meet her, right? And he called her, and at the time that everything was being faxed, so she faxed me some sides to Days of Our Lives or something. And she said, when you come by, just call my secretary, have a meet. So I did. I went in, I auditioned for her. And she was like, yeah, you're talented. You should have an agent. And I said, you can't get any work in LA without an agent. And I said, oh, okay, great. So she right there on the spot made 3 calls. A week later, I had an agent. Now I went back to LA, to Detroit, graduated from college. So when I got to LA, I already had an agent, which was half the battle when you get to LA. Now that's a unique story, but the point is that would have never happened had I not proven myself within that small little school and exhausted every resource I had, talked to everyone I could, been in the face of every dean that I could get in the face of, been in every theater production I could get my hands on, and just exhausted. And LA may not be your final destination, or New York or Chicago. It might be Savannah, but wherever it is, you are a much better talent by the time you're done than when you went in, and that's the point.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great advice. Networking, right? I mean,
Yeah.
with all the talent in the world, if you don't have that opportunity, and networks can help you make that opportunity.
And there's something here for you.
Let's get over here.
All right, I wasn't sure if this side was open still.
Yeah, you're good.
Hey.
One guy over there, go for it.
All right, so I'm Jesse. Hello.
Hey, Jesse.
Hey. So on Arrow, with your character of John Diggle's perspective or as an actor, who was your favorite villain to either face against or play off of?
Manu Bennett, Deathstroke, 100%.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, he was, I think he embodied Deathstroke. I think he was, first of all, Manu's a little crazy. I don't know if you guys ever talked.
I got that in Spartacus, I think, when watching it.
He's a little bit gone, and but he's a sweetheart, right? When he begins to kind of calm down and you really talk to him, but he's so focused, and he, like Paul Blackthorne, they're method actors, which means they really have to kind of get angry if they're angry, they really have to kind of find it, and so it's funny too because me and Steven, sometimes it was a wonder me and Steven if it got work done because we would laugh like at a drop of a dime, and Manu and Paul specifically would just crack us up because, you know, Manu, before they say action, he would literally like run around the set or something like that and just kind of get into it. And we kind of thought that was funny. So, but I would say that what he did on screen, man, I think he really embodied Deathstroke. The second season was our best season, and it's in no small part because of Manu.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello, G-Star Labs, I like that shirt.
Big fan. I'm Cameron. At the end of Crisis Infinite Earth, there was the monkey from the Wonder Twins. Are they gonna come in?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool that you saw that.
You're a Super Friends generation like
I know,
me, right?
I know, right? Exactly. It's like one of the 25 hours operator. Form of an ego, no. Probably not. You know, Arrow was notorious for having these one-offs, man. They'll like do something that's like, oh great, can't wait to see it again, and then it's like,
Damn.
nah, that was it. I hope to. That would be fun, but probably not. Hello, sir.
Hi. My name's David. First, I want to thank you for making us your, I guess, 5th or 6th special Arrowverse crossover appearance this season.
Oh,
we
thanks,
appreciate
man.
you being here. My question has to do with, I know it's already filming an episode, a show, a television series, very complicated with shooting things out of order and schedules and all. I was wondering if you could tell us how even more crazy complicated and what it's like shooting those big crossover episodes where you have not only your crew and cast, but people coming over from other shows that have to coordinate their schedules, your schedule going on and shooting with their crew.
Yeah.
And also just when you first get there and you're all in those cool superhero costumes, what that feels like.
Yeah, it's a logistical nightmare to your first point. Because of that reason, you are trying to schedule, and to the first AD's credit, the first AD on every show is the person who's tasked with that. And so kudos to every first AD on every set that has to schedule this. The crossovers were nightmares in terms of that. And we always said, we'll never do this again, and we do it again. So there's that. The second part is the coolest part, right? Where you just, because you don't, literally, Flash would be, if this was an Arrow set, Flash would be on the other side of the wall. I mean, we were that close working together. But we never saw each other because we would work and they would work and we would work 12 hours. So would they, and we did not want to see each other after working 12 hours. Went home. So during crossovers were where we would get to see Melissa and Grant and all the other cast members and Jesse and everyone else from the different shows. So that was the best part of it for us as actors, was just kind of sitting around, kind of catching up with our castmates, our co-workers who we never got to see. So it was fantastic. So that would be the answer to the second part of the question. That was some of the best parts.
You say you're so close. Did you have like a shared commissary or anything where you could bump into each other in the course of a day?
Yeah, we did. It's funny. No, because we did, but they were on our respective sets. So if the other side of this was, let's say, Star Labs, number one, this would be, let's just use this as an example, this would be the main stage of Arrow. This would be the bunker, for example, okay? The other side of that would be Star Labs, right? So if we're working that day in the bunker and they're working that day in Star Labs, their commissary is over there too.
Oh.
And our commissary is over here. So it's all kind of very insulated. It's just, if we wanted to, we could go through that door and see them. But we just don't want to. You know, it's like we're working like so long that we just, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, thank you.
It's like a Crisis on Other studio over there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Hey, my name is Travis, and mind if I ask maybe just 3 questions?
Sure, ask it. It means you're late, I think.
Sure. I just want to ask what was like your favorite scene in the film?
Yeah.
In Arrow?
Okay. Oh, that first, okay. Favorite scene of Arrow. Okay, I got that season. First season, let's see, okay. Well, the cast knew me from Blue Bloods and Dexter for the most part. And those are kind of serious roles. You're playing the mayor of New York or Dexter, or Blue Bloods, and then Dexter was kind of this informant, CIA, this kind of undercover informant. So they kind of knew me from that. You know, it's kind of a serious actor. And there was some, you know, Colin Salmon and Suzanne, and you know, there's some really good actors, and they remained good actors. But at the top, first season, there were some older actors on the show that were very, very good actors. Anyway, so the perception I had from Steven was that David Ramsey is one of these older, very serious actors, and I am. No, I'm kidding. But you know, a funny guy, I thought. But Steven didn't really know that, and I think Steven at first was kind of like, you know, he was one of the younger guys. He just got handed this big, huge role, so there was a lot of I gotta really do this right, you know, and prove myself. And he's right. I mean, there was a lot on his shoulders. And second time I met Steven, first time I met him was at the hotel bar. But the second time I saw him, there was a photo shoot, and we're all on the same floor. Me, Katie, I think Suzanne, some other people on that floor. Downstairs was where they're shooting. It was a film shoot or a photo shoot. So I walk past his dressing room, don't know it's his dressing room, and I hear, "You're Ramsey," right? As I walk past. I go into the room, and Steve is there with his shirt on. Right? And he's talking to me like, "Hey man, look, I'm so glad you're here doing the role, and can't wait to get started working with you." And to me, it's all like, wah, 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 wah. The dude has muscles. Everywhere, man. It's like just muscles, like literally everywhere. Because he was training like a couple of months before he got the role. Because, like I say, he wants to prove. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have to be this dude's bodyguard. So I'm getting on a meal plan immediately. But that's not the funny story. Here's the funny story. You're like, what's funny? Okay. We were on the set, and I wanted to show Steven, hey, just relax, man. I'm a cool dude. So we're at the dinner table, and my line to him is, "Mr. Queen, your car." Some people may have heard this story before. Your car is waiting outside, right? So I'm standing behind him. You're the camera. He's talking to someone. I said, "Mr. Queen, your car's waiting outside." Right. So I wait until the coverage is on him, and the camera's right there in his face now, right? And he's talking. And I come to him and I say, "Mr. Queen, I have the largest blank you've ever seen before in your life." Right? And I say that to him. The camera's right here. He just turns beet red. Red all over. I just stand back with my arms folded. Anyway, that was the beginning of a very fun relationship with Steven. So since then, it was like we are always cracking up on set, man. Like always, like literally always. So it's been great ever since then. It's great.
So about that laughing part, did you ever have a lot of fun arguing with the Oliver character a lot? Pretty much every season?
Yeah, I mean, it got a little old, and as actors, we had to try to find, like the big fight that was between us, for example. That was not what you saw. That was something that me and Steven kind of eventually kind of put together. They had this big martial art choreographed fight between these guys. I have older brothers, and brothers just don't fight that way, right? They try to knock each other's heads off. And so it was kind of important to kind of get to that point in the words. So that was something we both kind of designed together.
Okay.
I think that's all.
Okay, cool. Good questions. Good stuff.
Yep.
And I'll try not to be so long with the next stuff.
No, you're good.
Hello, I'm Devin.
Hey, Devin.
How was working with
That's
Kevin
key.
Costner? Thank you. Kevin Costner on draft day.
The best. Like really the best. Like he's a musician. He invited us over to his house. It was like he was the coolest dude. Like really cool.
Really?
Like you would not like put up your feet and have a beer type guy. Like he's like really super laid back. And I kind of heard some things before going in, like, you know, gotta be careful with Kevin and, you know, don't say the wrong thing. And I was just like, who said that? Because he would like be as funny and silly as you can be on this show. Like just go for it on this movie. So he was great.
And then, are you going to make an appearance on Heels with Stephen Amell?
Well, it's funny you say that. No, but he did call me to direct.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just great. Hey.
Hi, Chris here. Question for you. On the set of Dexter, were you ever creeped out by the kill rooms or anything like that, with plastic all around and Dexter chopping up dead bodies and whatnot?
No, I was creeped out by how real the makeup was.
Yeah.
Because when I was skinned, it was like, you know, that scene where I was skinned. It was just incredible how well done the makeup was. I never saw the kill room.
Never.
Man, I don't want to be near that thing.
Would you want to be in the kill room? Would you ever want to? Would your character ever want to be in the kill room?
Nope.
Fair enough.
Nope. Yep. Hello.
Yep. Hi, I'm Tony. Big fan. Watching Netflix, Arrow on Netflix. So my question for you is, what was your favorite part about playing as John Diggle on Arrow?
Yeah. Probably well, a couple things. As an actor, my favorite part was going to work, because it was a lot of fun going to work, like a lot of fun. As an actor, in terms of touching the character, I liked the idea that this was a guy who was married, had children, and there was a certain amount of risk to the life he was leading because of his personal life, and how he I guess valued family and brotherhood and loyalty. That was something that was nice to play within the context of being a vigilante, right? Particularly juxtaposed against Oliver's character, who was a man trying to find and hone his humanity, right? Because he had lost it on the island. So I just think the dynamic, the emotional dynamics that he had were really compelling to play, and then kind of put up against what Oliver was experiencing was fun storytelling, I thought. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to know about the guest spot on Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, how did that come about? And most importantly, is that going to be like important going forward? Because it was just so random, it being like you, and then it was like, what does this mean?
I know, isn't that great? That's the thing about Legends, man. A lot of people underestimate Legends, and for Legends, most people, they scratch your head with Legends, right? But the people that are into Legends of Tomorrow are like, we totally get it, right? Because it's completely ridiculous, and they don't have the weight of whoever Kara is on Supergirl, whoever Oliver is on Arrow, right? They don't have the weight of what they mean to the show, because no one cares in Legends. So that it can be whatever. So the answer to the question is no. It was a kind of ridiculous one-off, and it was the way it was pitched to me was, well, we know we're kind of messing around with this Green Lantern thing in this universe, David. This is from the showrunners, but we don't want to do that on Legends. We don't want to, and that's what people were expecting. Like if any place that where Green Lantern would show up, it would be in a time ship or something. But they were like, no. How about the idea is that someplace within the lineage of John Diggle, Bass Reeves is there, so someplace, and that's Legends. That's the silliness of Legends. So the answer is no. It was a one-off, but that's why I enjoy Legends, and it's fun, man. A Western every week. It's just it's one of those shows that if you threw the kind of money that maybe Superman and Lois or the HBO Max shows had, if you threw that in Legends, they'll be nominated for art design. Because every week it's like we're in Rome or we're in the West or wherever you know, it's a crazy, crazy show, and that's part of its charm.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
Hi there.
Hey.
My name's Nikki. I've been a actor myself for the past 5 years, predominantly in the Orlando area, and I've been planning on moving. I want to move to Atlanta actually at the end of this year, and I've talked to my agent here in Florida about it, and she's totally on board with it. And as an actor with much more experience than me in the industry, I just wanted to ask, maybe prior or going to Atlanta, any words of advice you could possibly give me?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're both actors. I just got a couple more breaks than you did. That's it. Okay? So, even though I think it's great that other actors admire actors, and it's fantastic, we're really on the same level. It's just, you know, I might be getting paid in a different area. So there's that. The advice would be similar to the advice I gave before. Become the best actor you can. Become the best version of an actor you can, as opposed to, you know. And I think part of it is finding the people you admire and picking up skills, and whether it's Meisner or Stanislavski or whatever, it's skills technically, right? But doing this more, talking more, because I think this is a very, very important element to it. Just getting as much information as you can, and making that your own. So I would say if you've done that in Orlando, fantastic. That's the first thing. Atlanta is this exact same thing. There would be no new advice that I would give you as opposed to Atlanta, which I've worked in, that's any different than Orlando, or any different than LA, any different than New York. It would be to go there and get into class, try to get an agent, you know, get a job so you can support that class, and work as much as you can. Be careful of agents who are trying to take money, obviously. But I think class will help a lot. Atlanta is like New York and LA in the sense that you have to have an agent there, otherwise you're doing non-union work, which is a right to work state, so that's anyone, whether they're union or not, can work on union jobs. But eventually you want to be part of SAG or NAFTA, right? So you should work in union jobs as much as you can.
And I would like to, yes.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, and that will take building up your resume. So every job is an audition, even when you're working every day. So be professional, be on time, you know, do your job. And eventually, it'll fall into place. And eventually it might be great in a year, 6 months, or it might be 3 or 4 years. But if you stick with it, you'll make it 100%.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thanks. All right, it's probably going to be the last one, so we're running out of time. So, yep.
Since I wasn't getting in front of anyone else, I wanted to ask you a couple quick things that you can go into Twitter, however extent you would like. The first being, I was just curious, you know, what were your thoughts and feelings when they told you that coming season you were going to actually be Green Arrow, you were going to take on the role, wear the costume, and what it felt like the first time you actually put that costume on, that whole thing. And my follow-up or second question is, did you have as much fun as I think a lot of us did with the whole gag of John always gets sick when Barry runs really fast, or did that get old?
Well, the answer to your second question is yes, that's always fun. And it also, that kind of thing lends itself to what I think is important about John Diggle, which is that he is an earthbound hero, which is kind of a lot more compelling to me than someone who just kind of accepts the lantern ring, let's say, and goes off to sector whatever it is to protect the galaxy, that part of the galaxy. And so I think it's that, again, we kind of take this time to kind of show that all this stuff is very otherworldly to him, and that's part of it. So that was a lot of fun. The second part to the first part of your question, yeah, when I heard that he'll be kind of Green Arrow this season. It was all about story, right? Because it was like he's not an archer. How is that going to be? So I'm glad he got a crossbow instead of a, you know. So it was great and exciting, but to me it was more about how's the story, what's the story around this, and I think we did a good job with that.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, with the Flash thing, I know this is probably a silly question, but is it as simple as, okay, Grant's already standing behind you, and then they're like, okay, react.
Yeah,
and
this is exactly what happened.
They later do the...
This is exactly what happened. It's a good question, and I don't get that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're here, and the scene is, so Barry's about, so Barry, I'll see you later. That's my line, right? And Barry flashes out. It's, so Barry, I'll see you later. They say, pause. There's an air cannon.
Mm-hmm.
That's right there. He disappears, camera stays there, it's whoosh, so I go this because it blows me in the face. On action, that's what happens, and then Barry's gone. Right? And if there's effects, they put the streak there. It's the same thing with Superman and Lois.
Yeah.
The exact same thing with Superman and Lois.
Yeah. But like if he's running you in, it's like you have a cue and then you react like...
That's exactly right. We say pause and then action, I throw up, and there you go.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, on that note, we're going to have to wrap it up. Hey guys, right now, David's going to be going right back to his autograph table to start signing autographs. So head over there, get some autographs from David. Let's give a big Tampa round of applause for David Ramsey.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.